time we talked here, you was here, we talked about the positioning. You said the toughest position is point guard. Now you've had two point guards to go down, and you brought in Odyssey at a good time. Can you talk about her coming to joining the team and how you see her now helping you in this time in the season?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think, her ability to get downhill, her ability to get to the rim and play make for herself and others, it's what we needed. We needed somebody who could come in and who could take some pressure off of Kelsey in a way that Ari did, and being another person who can get downhill, and then Shea as well. Shea, in particular, when we lost Sophie, we needed somebody else who...
What if I told you that one rookie, yes, a player who hasn't even stepped onto the floor in weeks, is about to flip the entire WNBA upside down? Think about that for a second. One rookie, sidelined, recovering, forced to watch from the bench, and yet her very presence, the moment her name gets mentioned in a press conference, suddenly has the power to shake the entire league. Because here's the reality. The Indiana Fever, a team that's been barely hanging on by grit, bruises, and pure willpower, is about to transform overnight into something entirely different. A team that's been patched together like a car running on duct tape and prayers now looks like it might actually become a playoff threat. And how did we get here? It wasn't a blockbuster trade. It wasn't a miracle signing. It was something far more shocking. Coach Stephanie White finally slipped. She let the truth out. The Caitlin Clark return bombshell is officially on the table. And let me tell you this. When Clark returns, the entire equation changes. Not just for the Fever, not just for their opponents, but for the whole WNBA. And trust me, this is just the beginning. The Indiana Fever's 2024 season hasn't been a season. It's been a survival story. A roller coaster, sure, but not the shiny, smooth kind you see at Disney. No, this has been the creaky, rusted, hold your breath and pray it doesn't break kind of ride. The one where you're not sure if you'll make it to the end in one piece. Every time the Fever found a spark of rhythm, the basketball god stepped in with a cruel smile and whispered, "Not so fast." First came Sophie Cunningham's injury. Cunningham isn't just another name on the roster. She's the kind of fiery defender every championship team needs, a leader who brings energy to every huddle, every possession, every scrap of defense. Losing her was like ripping the heart out of the Fever's toughness. Then it was Ari McDonald. Another crucial piece gone. Another hole in a lineup that was already thin. But the story that really told you everything about the Fever's nightmare? Lexi Hull. She didn't just take a hit. She took two. Two black eyes. Her face looked like she had gone 12 rounds in a boxing ring. Most players would have been out for a week, maybe more. But not Lexi. She taped herself up, laced her shoes, and went back on the court like nothing happened. That's toughness. That's commitment. That's the kind of spirit coaches dream about. But here's the harsh truth. You can't build a winning season on toughness alone. No matter how much grit, no matter how much fight, injuries strip away something more dangerous than points on the scoreboard. They strip away continuity, chemistry, identity. When you looked at the Fever lineup these past few weeks, it didn't feel like a professional roster. It felt like a mismatched puzzle dumped on the table with half the pieces missing. Kelsey Mitchell trying to shoulder the scoring load.
Lexi, obviously, she had that big knot in her head on Tuesday and it's developed into those two black eyes. Just what was your reaction seeing that develop?
I mean, just smiling, really, and every time I see her, I'm like, oh, poor Lexi. But I think it really epitomizes Lexi's toughness when you look at her and you see those two black eyes. I mean, she is tough as nails. She plays all out every possession all the time. And sometimes the result is two black eyes. And so I smile every time I see her. But it definitely is a picture perfect viewpoint of the toughness that she brings.
Aaliyah Boston grinding, night after night, doing everything humanly possible in the paint. Role players stretched out of position, plugging holes wherever they could. And yet with every injury, with every bandaged rotation, the cracks kept widening. The question got louder. Fans asked it. Reporters asked it. Opponents whispered it. And honestly, even teammates were probably thinking it. When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Well, now we know. Coach Stephanie White just gave us the answer, and she didn't wrap it in coach speak. She flat out admitted it. Clark isn't just progressing. She isn't just doing better. She's back in practice, shooting, running through drills, and her return is officially penciled in. You could feel the shift instantly. This wasn't another vague, "we'll see how she responds" update. This was confirmation. And for a Fever team clinging to playoff hopes by their fingertips, it couldn't have come at a bigger moment. White even said it herself. Their margin for error without Clark was basically zero. Translation? Every game felt like walking on a tightrope over a volcano. One wrong step, and everything collapsed. Bringing back Clark doesn't just balance things out. It flips the equation completely. Look, the Fever without Caitlin Clark aren't hopeless. But let's be real, they're not scaring anyone either. Sure, Kelsey Mitchell can drop 25 on any given night, and Aaliyah Boston is already an all-world center with a knack for making it look effortless. But without Clark, everything feels ordinary. The spacing collapses, defenses clog the lane, and the Fever's offense stalls into predictable sets. But with Clark, that's when defenses panic. Suddenly, they're being stretched to 30 feet because her shooting range is practically from the parking lot. Suddenly, Boston is feasting inside because help defenders are glued to Clark at the arc. Suddenly, Mitchell isn't double-teamed every possession because opponents can't risk leaving Clark unguarded. Clark doesn't just score, she creates gravity. She bends defenses in ways that no other player in the league can right now. That's why her absence was so glaring. And that's why her return feels like flipping a switch from average to dangerous. And while all this was happening, one story perfectly captured the Fever's reality. Lexi Hull. 2 black eyes. A swollen face. A photo shoot scheduled the next day. And her response? She just laughed. Told reporters she was more worried about how her pictures would turn out than the actual pain. That's classic Lexi. Coach White even admitted that every time she looked at Hull's face, she couldn't help but smile. Not out of cruelty, but because it perfectly symbolized what Lexi brings. Pure toughness, relentless effort, and the heart of a fighter. The Fever have been running on that kind of toughness for weeks. But as inspiring as it is, toughness alone doesn't win championships. Eventually, you need firepower. And that's where Clark comes in.
Alex here again. We also talked about that last time you were here, and it seems like it's still an ongoing discussion going on around the league. How are you now handling it as far as managing with the team, getting them prepared with some of the officiating or some of the play? What are you telling them as the message moving forward?
I think the message for us is control what we can control. We can't control how the game is called. We can control how we play it. And so being disciplined, defending without fouling, making opponents hit tough shots, and understanding that, these are the best players in the world. Sometimes we have to live with them hitting tough shots. And so just being a little bit more disciplined in terms of how we're playing, on the defensive end in particular, and then continuing to be aggressive on the offensive end. We can't shy away from contact. We have to go into and invite.
Now here's where it gets even bigger. Clark's return isn't just a fever boost. It's a WNBA earthquake. Love her or hate her, Caitlin Clark moves the needle like nobody else. Ratings skyrocket when she plays. Arenas sell out just because her name is on the schedule. When she sits, numbers drop. Clips disappear. Buzz evaporates. This isn't just about Indiana's playoff push. This is about the health of the entire league. And Coach White confirming Clark's return? That's like ringing the dinner bell for networks, sponsors, and fans. ESPN executives probably sighed with relief when that quote hit Twitter. The golden ticket is back. And the timing? Perfect. The Fever are limping through injuries. The playoff race is tightening. And suddenly the WNBA's biggest star is about to re-enter the spotlight. You couldn't script it better if you tried. Of course, not everyone's happy. Clark's critics have been loud during her absence. We've heard it all. The Fever look more balanced without her. She's overhyped. She can't handle physical play. But funny how those same people forget to mention the numbers. Funny how ratings tank when she's not on the floor. Funny how ticket sales dip. Funny how highlight reels suddenly dry up. The reality is simple. The WNBA is more exciting with Caitlin Clark. Period. The Fever without her are scrappy. With her, they're must-watch. That's the undeniable difference between a good player and a superstar. And here's where things get really spicy. Without Clark, the Fever are clawing for the last playoff seed. At best, they sneak in as an underdog, only to get steamrolled in round 1. But with Clark, the ceiling jumps. Suddenly, matchups matter. Suddenly, they're a nightmare team nobody wants to face in a short series. Because here's the thing about Clark, she only needs 5 minutes. One hot stretch of logo threes, one run of no-look assists, and the entire game flips. That's why her return isn't just important. It's season-defining. Stephanie White knows it. She's simplified the playbook just to keep the patchwork lineup functional. But with Clark back, she can run her full system. She can unleash spacing, ball movement, tempo, all the things Clark makes possible. But maybe the most important part isn't strategy. It's the message. To her teammates, Clark's return means relief. It means they're not fighting uphill alone anymore. To fans, it means hope. They've been waiting, holding their breath, desperate to see their star back on the floor. And to Clark herself, it means redemption. She's heard the critics. She's seen the replays of every time she got knocked down. She knows what people have been saying. And if you think she isn't coming back with a massive chip on her shoulder, you don't know Caitlin Clark. This isn't just about getting healthy again. This is about shutting everyone up. About proving that the hype is real.
Offense, get us into the right positions. So it's always hard when you lose point guards, and for us, now this is the think about Caitlin and her not being back yet, and Ari and Sid, having Odyssey and Shea coming in at this time of year is tough, and I think that they've both answered.
About dragging a battered roster into the playoffs and showing the entire league exactly why she's the most talked about player in women's basketball. So here we are. The Fever are banged up, stitched together, and staring at the edge of survival. Sophie Cunningham's out. Lexi Hull is playing through pain. The lineup has been rotating like a revolving door. But now, Caitlin Clark is back. And with her return, everything changes. The Fever aren't just survivors anymore. They're contenders. The league isn't just waiting. It's watching. And the haters? They're about to get real quiet. So the question is simple. Does Clark's return make the Fever a legitimate playoff threat right now? Or is this comeback too little, too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe, because this story is just getting started.